Welcome to Passover with Temple Beth Israel, or at least wherever you are and however you are gathered with family, friends. We'll do what we can this year, and hopefully we'll all be together next year. So we're recording this in advance for you to play as you wish and pause as you wish. So if you need to catch up, to re-pour wine, or to stop for the meal, all of those things, that's what the pause button is for. Before I get started, I wanted to thank the Ford family, the Smith family, the Godinez family, and G.J. Thielen for providing me some illustration. That being said, there's a whole lot of black space on the coming slides because there was a point between myself and the others who were providing some creative ways of looking at pieces of the Seder that we didn't get it all illustrated. So uh, think of that space like the rabbis thought of the white space on a page, which is there to fill with your own commentary or your own, as it were, illustrations. So in the week of Passover, if you get me more fun illustrations of the Passover story, we used Lego and some other things, but if however you would like to illustrate them, send them on to me, and what's fun we can send on to everybody else. There's a link that you, I hope, can cut and paste or even click on down below on this page that will get you to a whole lot of things on the Reform Judaism website that has resources for Passover. My bet is if that link doesn't work, you can just go to reformjudaism.org and find a whole lot of good stuff there. So let's go ahead. Up until the meal will take about 20 minutes in this, and it's not much longer after the meal for those who actually get to after the meal. Here we have some wonderful examples of Seder plates from the Smith family. Thank you. And I think they are there reclining on their couch as appropriate with comforting friends. Beautiful, wonderful. One of the first of the symbols that we are supposed to remember is the zroah, the shank bone. The shank bone reminds us of the festive temple sacrifice. The shank is the arm of an animal. This reminds us that with an outstretched arm, God rescued us from Egypt. We do not eat the shank bone because we no longer offer sacrifices. Some families have returned to eating lamb during Passover, but for most it's not traditional. Beitzah, the egg. The roasted egg is another reminder of the holiday Chagiga sacrifices that were offered on the three major festivals, Passover, Sukkot, and Shavuot. The egg also symbolizes the new life that comes with the spring. Karpas, the greens. These vegetables, like the ones our ancestors ate in Egypt, begin to grow at this season when God brought us to freedom. As you can see, we did not have fresh parsley in the house, but so I found a bottle of something to add to our festival scene. Maror, the bitter herbs. The bitter herbs remind us of the bitterness of life when we were once slaves in the land of Egypt. Charoset, this mixture of apples, nuts, and red wine looks like the mortar that our ancestors worked with in Egypt, theoretically. And of course, this is just an Ashkenazic variation. There are plenty of others you can do. Anyway, we dip the maror into the charoset to remind us that the hard work with bricks was the cause of our bitterness. When we list the order of the Seder, it's a rhyme in and of itself. I'll read it and you can refer back to it. There is, of course, the jokes going around that there's a whole lot more hand washing in the Seder this year. But here it goes. Kadesh, Orchatz, Karpas, Yachatz. Magid, Rachza, Motzi, Matzah. Maror, Korech, Shulchan, Orech. Tzafun, Barech, Halel, Nirtzah. The first cup. Okay, if you need to, pause, fill your cups. And then we do the blessing. Don't drink yet. We have one more blessing to go before we actually drink. I'm not going to read the English. You can read the English on your own while we're blessing, or you can pause and do that. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Don't drink. One more. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Now you may drink. Orchatz, the washing of the hands, which we are immersed in this year. This is a ritual hand washing, and this one, even more than the other ritual hand washing, is symbolic. There's no blessing said clearly. It's not what we talk about today for hand washing. You can place your own commentary here or all throughout. So someone go rinse their hands if you haven't already done so many, many times today. And we prepare for the first symbol that we actually get to partake in. This allows you to eat all sorts of hors d'oeuvres and such that are covered under greens. And we traditionally take the parsley, we dip it in salt water, and we say this blessing: Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'adamah. Dip the parsley in the salt water and enjoy. And if you don't have it, you can find other greens to use. The leader takes the middle matzah. So if you got a stack of matzah, 3 is ideal. Take the middle one out. You break it in half. The larger piece becomes the Afikomen, and the Seder will be concluded when the Afikomen is ransomed and everyone eats a piece. Again, we may have to be creative this year. Now we have to tell the story. It starts with this ancient Aramaic passage, Halach ma'anya di achalu av hatana ba'ara di Mitzrayim. This is the bread of poverty, the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come and eat, and all those in need come and celebrate the Pesach. This year we are here, wherever that is. Next year may we be in the land of Israel. This year we are slaves. In the coming year, may we all be free and free to gather together and enjoy our Passover Seders together. The matzah of hope is set aside as a symbol of hope for those Jews throughout the world who are not free to celebrate the Seder, not free to express their Jewish identity. They're not free to read Jewish books, to learn of their Jewish past, or to hand it down to their children. Their voices have risen in Jewish pride and protest throughout the years. Tonight, we add our voices to theirs. They have not been forgotten. We can feel it more this year than many of us have been able to ever feel. But for some of us, we remember years ago when there were many people behind the Iron Curtain or in other places, and there still are today, who are really not free to properly celebrate their own Judaism. Time for the 4 questions. I'm going to chant the Hebrew. The youngest person who is able in the house should really be singing as well, or you can all sing. You can look at the translation that's there on the slide and enjoy that and sing along, read along, whichever you prefer. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot, mikol halelot. Shebechol halelot anu ochlin chametz umatzah, chametz umatzah. Halayla hazeh, kulo matzah. Halayla hazeh, kulo matzah. Shebechol halelot anu ochlin she'ar yirakot, she'ar yirakot. Halayla hazeh, maror, maror. Halayla hazeh, maror, maror. Shebechol halelot ein anu matbilin afilu pa'am echad, afilu pa'am echad. Halayla hazeh, shetef amim. Halayla hazeh, shetef amim. Shebechol halelot anu ochlin ben yoshvinu vein misubin, ben yoshvinu vein misubin. Halayla hazeh, kulanu misubin. Halayla hazeh, kulanu Misubin. The story goes on. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and God brought us out from there with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. If God had not brought us out of Egypt, then we and our children and our children's children would still be slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. No matter how wise we are, we must continue to tell the story. The more we tell it, the better. So you can always add discussion questions. So one question you could add if you want to. Stop, you pause and talk about how we are not free in some ways, or how people in our communities are not free. I love Go Down Moses. I'm not going to sing it this time. Go to the link below. Louis Armstrong with Nina Paley's animation. Awesome, awesome version of Go Down Moses. I highly recommend that one. And next year we'll sing it together. This night is different from all other nights because tonight we celebrate our going forth from the land of Egypt. We eat only matzah tonight because when Pharaoh let our ancestors go from Egypt, they had to leave in a great hurry. They had no time to let their bread rise. As they walked, the sun beat down on their dough and baked it into flatbread, which we call matzah. We eat bitter herbs tonight because the lives of our ancestors in Egypt were made bitter from the hard work that they were forced to do as slaves. We dip the herbs twice tonight. The first time we dip parsley into the salt water to remind us that even with the coming growth and happiness of spring, we remember the bitter tears of our ancestors. We dip the bitter herbs into the sweet charoset as a sign of hope. Our ancestors were able to withstand the bitterness of slavery because it was sweetened by the hope of freedom. We recline at the table because free people recline. And since our ancestors were free on this night, we remember by reclining. The 4 children. 4 times the Torah describes our children asking us about Pesach. From this, we understand that there are 4 types of children, or at least 4 learning styles, but we'll go with 4 types of children. The wise child asks, what is the meaning of the laws and rituals which God has commanded us? To this child, we explain in great detail all the laws and customs of Pesach. The wicked child asks, what does this service mean to you? This child does not want to be included in the celebration, so we answer, we celebrate Pesach because of what God did for us. If you had been in Egypt, you would not have been included when God freed us from slavery. I find it particularly brutal. It's an old style form of teaching. Do with it as you will. The simple child asks, what is this all about? To this child, we answer simply, with a mighty hand, God brought us out of Egypt. And to the child who is unable to ask, we begin by explaining that we celebrate Pesach to remember what God did for us when we were freed from slavery in Egypt. The story continues. God promised our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, that from their children would become a great nation. To each generation, God repeated the promise. Isaac and Rebekah, and again to Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. The promise stood for our ancestors and stands for us. Not just one person alone stood up to destroy us. Rather, in every generation, someone stands to destroy us, but the Holy One, blessed God, saves us from their hand. Joseph, the son of Jacob, became a great and powerful man in Egypt. He wisely advised the country to save food in case of a famine. When famine came, they were prepared. And they probably had enough toilet paper too, because, we can really understand that this year. But down in Canaan, Jacob's family had no food. So all the tribes of Israel, that's Jacob, moved down to Egypt where they were treated well because of their brother Joseph. Eventually, a new Pharaoh arose who did not know Joseph and his family. He was afraid that the many Israelites would grow and become too powerful for him. So the Pharaoh made the Israelites slaves. He forced them to work hard building bricks and mortar. Their lives became bitter. Still afraid of Pharaoh, declared that all Hebrew baby boys must be drowned in the river Nile. 2 Hebrew slaves, Amram and Yocheved, did not want to kill their son. They hid him for 3 months until he was too big to hide any longer. Then they put him in a basket and floated him down the Nile. His sister Miriam watched to see what would happen to him. The baby floated down the Nile until he came to the spot where the Pharaoh's daughter was bathing. She saw him and took him for her own. She named him Moshe, or Moses, which means drawn from water. Miriam saw everything and went to Pharaoh's daughter to offer her and her mother's help to raise the child. Pharaoh's daughter accepted. Moses grew up. One day he saw an Egyptian taskmaster beating an Israelite slave. He became so angry that he killed the Egyptian. Afraid for his own life, Moses fled Egypt and became a shepherd in Midian. Moses was looking for lost sheep on Mount Horeb when he saw a bush that was on fire, but it was not burning up. From the bush came God's voice. God told Moses that he must return to Egypt and lead the people out of slavery. God also said that Pharaoh would not be easy to convince, so God would bring plagues upon the land of Egypt. We fill our cups with the fruit of the vine to remember our joy in escaping the slavery in Egypt. But all people are God's creations, and our joy is lessened when anyone suffers needlessly. Therefore, we spill out a drop of the sweet wine for every plague. We dip our finger in our glass and take out a drop as we each say a plague. Okay, so you can dip your finger, one for each plague. And remember, at the end, don't lick your finger. You don't get to taste the sweetness. So have a napkin handy so that you can wipe your hand. All right, here we go. We're going to read each of them. You can see that we've only illustrated a few of them. So this week, I want to see people offer some illustrations that we can share with everybody. Here we go. Dam, blood. Svardeya, frogs. Kinim, lice. Arov, wild beasts. Dever, cattle disease. Shechin, boils. Barad, hail. Arbe, locusts. Choshech, darkness. Makat bechorot, the killing of the firstborn. Dayenu, it would have been enough for us. How many great wonders God has done for us. And you know your part. I'll read you guys can read this on your own. But as I'm reading, when I get to the end of each line, a good rousing Dayenu, I want to hear you from wherever you are. Had God brought us out of Egypt and judged the Egyptians, Dayenu. Had God judged the Egyptians and not parted the sea for us, Dayenu. Had God divided the sea for us and not led us across on dry land, Dayenu. Had God led us across dry land without sustaining us 40 years in the desert, Dayenu. Had God sustained us 40 years in the desert without feeding us manna, Dayenu. Had God fed us manna without giving us Shabbat, Dayenu. Had God given us Shabbat and not brought us to Mount Sinai, Dayenu. Had God brought us to Mount Sinai and not given us the Torah, Dayenu. Had God given us the Torah and not brought us into the land of Israel, Dayenu. Had God brought us into Israel and not built for us the temple, Dayenu. All right, let's sing it. Here we go. Sing along with me. Ilu hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ihu natan lanu et Shabbat, natan lanu et Shabbat, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et Torah, natan lanu et Torah, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. You can sing all you like, but that was enough for me. Dayenu. Okay, On your table somewhere, you should have a Pesach symbol, the shank bone. If not, people use a beet, or you know what, in this creative time where we have to be creative, whatever you want to represent the Pesach for you. Be creative. Give me your ideas. Let me know. What is the meaning of this Pesach? The shank bone reminds us of the sacrifice of the Paschal lamb that our ancestors sacrificed in the temple to remember that God passed over the homes of the Israelites when all the firstborn were slain in Egypt. Matzah, lift up the matzah. What is the meaning of the matzah? We eat the unleavened matzah to remind us that our ancestors fled Egypt too quickly to let their bread dough rise. Maror, lift up the bitter herbs. What is the meaning of the maror? We eat the bitter herbs to remind us how the Egyptian taskmasters made bitter the lives of our ancestors. In each and every generation, everyone must picture themselves as if they personally left Egypt. Some of us are used to putting an orange on our Seder plate, and here is how Susanna Heschel describes the creation of that tradition. At the height of the Jewish feminist movement of the 1980s, inspired by the abundant new customs expressing women's viewpoints and experiences, I started placing an orange on the Seder plate, she writes. At an early point in the Seder, when stomachs were starting to growl, I asked each person to take a segment of the orange, making the blessing over fruit, and eat the segment in recognition of gay and lesbian Jews, of widows, orphans, Jews who are adopted, and all others who sometimes feel marginalized in the Jewish community. Another good discussion point if you want to pause and think about anyone and everyone who could be marginalized not only in the Jewish community, but in the whole community around us. Time for another cup. All right, fill up your cups, and here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen l'chaim. The cup of Miriam. A midrash teaches that a miraculous well accompanied our ancestors throughout their journey in the desert, given by God because of the merit of Miriam the prophetess. Like Miriam, Jewish women in all generations have been essential for the continuity of our people. Let us each fill the cup of Miriam with water from our own glasses so that our daughters may continue to draw from the strength and wisdom of our heritage. So when we do this, we have a special cup in the middle. You can declare however you like and take water from your own glasses to fill it up, because we are all a part of the process. We all can lift up the women in our community. All right, back to another hand washing. How can we not go without a whole bunch of hand washing? This one has a blessing, but again, it's a ritual hand washing, so water is poured over the hands as opposed to 20 seconds minimum of soap and water. All right, but here's the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al nitilat yadayim. All right, time for matzah. Break off some matzah. And the blessing, we're going to do the blessing, and then don't eat, because there's two blessings for this one as well. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. All right, don't eat yet. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. Now you may eat the matzah. Maror. Okay, blessing for the maror, the bitter herbs, horseradish, or some people use lettuce or celery. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. And then some people do it by dipping it in together with the haroset or putting some matzah in the maror, however it works for you. And then there's the Hillel sandwich. This is a tradition that long ago Rabbi Hillel would eat the maror with some of the Paschal lamb offering between two pieces of matzah. The matzah represents our liberation, and the maror keeps us from forgetting that we were once slaves. We no longer make sacrifices, so instead of lamb that he would have done, we fill our sandwich with charoset. So charoset, maror in your matzah, and that makes the Hillel sandwich. At this point, you serve the meal. Some people actually return to the Seder afterward. So if you hit pause and come back to the meal after, but before you do that, There are several links that I've put here for some of my favorite videos, but there are tons out there. Um, uh, from decades ago, Slim and Slam sing the song Matzo Balls. A relatively new one, the group 613, a Lion King Passover, fantastic. Okay, the next one's just absolutely silly. It's a Japanese matzah tip. If you haven't seen it before, click on it, paste the link in yours. It's just weird and wonderful. This year, the Reform Movement's Cantors put out a great resource, singing all sorts of the music of the Seder, staying in, reaching out, the ultimate virtual Passover Seder. The link there is below. So hit pause, eat, enjoy, and I hope you're with people you love. And if not, if you're just there by yourself doing it, we are with you. Welcome back. Okay, so in some way we're supposed to share the Afikomen. So now this is an interesting one. If you're by yourself and you've got to hide it and find it, yeah, I don't know. You tell me if you made it work. Anyway, the Seder cannot be completed until the Afikomen has been shared. For this reason, it's customary for the one who finds the Afikomen to ransom it. When the Afikomen has been redeemed, it should be broken and shared by everyone. And then we go to the blessing after the meal. So I'm going to sing this short section of Birkat Hamazon, of the blessing after the meal. You're welcome to sing along or do your own version. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hazan et haolam kulo betuvo bechen bechesed uvrachamim. Hu noten lechem lechol basar ki leolam chasto, uvtuvo hagadol, tamid lo chasar lanu ve'al yachsar lanu, mazon leolam va'ed. Ba'avur shemo hagadol, ki welzan umfarnes lakol, umetiv lakol, umechin mazon, lecho briotav asher bara, baruch atah Adonai, hazan et hakol. Ose shalom bimromav, Ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. We may be done with eating, as we've done Birkat Hamazon, but we're not done with the cups of wine. So the third cup, make sure it's full. Pause if you need to. And we lift it up. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen lechayim. We fill the fourth cup along with the cup for Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi. We open the door to invite him in and hope that he will soon bring the peace that comes in the time of the Messiah. The cup is filled for Elijah and the door is open. Someone go open the door. And perhaps with the door open or after you've given a chance, we join together in the song for Elijah, Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Imera veyamenu, Yavo Eleinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. Oh, another song. It's traditional to include Hallel, a song of praise. Here's a short version from Psalm 150. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol neshama hallelujah. Kol neshama hallelujah. Kol neshama hallelujah.
We're getting there. The fourth cup. All right. I don't have a cup because it's not actually Passover when I'm recording this, but you should have a cup in your hand. Lift up that cup with some wine in it or grape juice. That works too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen lechayim. Our Seder is now complete. This year we celebrated here, wherever that is. Next year, may we celebrate in Jerusalem. Next year, may we celebrate together in our social hall or together with family and friends. L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed Seder together with someone you love. And again, if not, reach out electronically to us. We're here and we're available, text, email, call, and we can be together even across the virtual world. I hope you stay healthy. I hope you stay happy. And we'll get through this. And L'Shana Haba next year, may we all be together. Chag Sameach, happy Passover, and take care.